Hey, Ryan here, SethBaseTriathlon.com. This little video, I'm going to do a little intro here to video of me unpacking my bike. I did not, it was a mad scramble to get my bike to Ironman, Florida. Unfortunately, Tri-Bike Transport was not coming to my area, and I checked out Bike Flights, and it was actually cheaper to buy a bike bag. I had one, but it was a little bit older. It did not work necessarily for through axle bikes. Tried to find a few fixes, so I ended up going with a different bag and flying it because Delta is nice and it counts for luggage if it's 150 pounds and meets a certain measurement requirement. But then going back to the old tried and true packing your bike and crossing your fingers that it makes it the other side in one piece. And I'm happy to report it went there and it came back in one piece. There was a situation where I posted where I did have to take, and you see in the picture here in the background, we can scroll that down a little bit for you. I did have to take my handlebars off. I had to unbolt them. I had to unbolt the aero bars from the actual base bar and put them in there because the bag, it was too wide on the front. Because this bag is not width-wise, you can't leave your handlebars on. And I need to take those off and kind of strap back on. But in doing so, it pulled a little bit more wire out of the frame and exposed a major fray that I found later when I went to go ride it and looked down. I was like, wow, that's why it's not shifting, because the bike cable has snapped in the cable from housing. Took it to play try there at Ironman, Florida, Ironman Village. Fixed it right up, no problem. Did race day, worked great job. But just wanted to do a quick little video about packing the old bike and tips and tricks and strategies. You'll see in the video of unpacking kind of everything. I used pool noodles and I used Velcro. You can buy Velcro in rolls, so that way you can cut it to the length you need. I cut it to the length and I cut it down the middle to make it thinner straps, so it's a little bit more workable, a little bit more user-friendly. And that way you can reuse them. So if you use like packing tape and other stuff, it just becomes a lot more cumbersome to deal with. I've tried it in the past. It didn't work very well. And if you use zip ties and stuff, you're going to have to cut them off when you get there, and then you're going to have new zip ties to use when you get there. The Velcro straps work great. The pool noodles work great. Other than that, I did use, you can see some packing materials just to kind of stuff in the bottom, and you'll see in the unpacking I used it in the bike wheel bags, in the wheel bags on the sides, just to give a little bit more added support or whatever. So that is going to be the key of things that I would highly recommend. And if you've got disc brakes, you need a disc brake spacer. It's a little red plastic thing. I'll show you in a later video. I don't have hydraulic brakes, so it's probably not as critical for me, but I didn't want, for some reason, my brake pads to come together while it was being shipped and damaged or anything like that, so I put spacers in there. So disc brake spacers, bike bag, making sure it works for if you got a through axle or your skewer type clincher setup on your wheels, making sure it fits your bike, making sure that you got pool noodles to protect every exposed corner of that bike, because the frame inside, I'll show you the middle frame in the video, took a hit. So if you don't have that middle frame, or you're thinking, well, they're going to be super nice with my bike. Well, they'll be super nice with it until you hit turbulence and some bag falls on it in the luggage area that nobody knew or could see. So I covered pretty much every exposed portion of the bike with a pool noodle, and then strapped it up with Velcro straps. Trying to think what else I put in there. I mean, that's basically it. I took everything off the bike. I took the bike box. I took the seat tube, put that in everything else I put in carry-on luggage, because with this setup, it was 44 pounds going out, and it was about 50 pounds going back, because we put in some rubber wraps that we bought while we were there in Panama City Beach to go in the ocean. Didn't want to leave them there, so we brought it back. So took all that stuff off the bike. I did leave my bottle cages on the inside. That ended up being a problem. Please excuse my dog that's bored with this video already and taking a nap. But I did take the base bar off. I took the aero bars off and strapped those to the bike because they still had the wires in them, because I didn't want to take that off. So basically, like I said, I took everything off. I did ship with the disc wheel and didn't have any problems with that. Maybe not an advisable situation, but that's what I did. I did bring a air pump, but I put that on my checked-in bag, so it wouldn't weigh down this bag or anything. But I mean, I covered up most of the big chain ring because I didn't want that smacked toward the bottom. That's why I put the padding on the bottom, and covered up as much of the derailleur and everything else as possible. I did put my aero helmet in case in the back here and kind of took up this little small area. But basically, and I bought TSA approved bike locks, which you'll see in the video. They took them off to inspect it and then put it through the loops of the zipper things and not through the actual lock loops on the zippers, which, whatever, thanks TSA. So I guess it was secure somewhat, but that is kind of what I recommend to have for your shipping your bike with a bike box. And I use a soft-sided case. There's been several, you can look at the hard-sided case, you can look at the soft-sided case argument, and soft-sided is a little bit, the argument is a little bit more towards, well, they take a little bit more care in handling your bike because it's a soft-sided case. With a hard case, they think they just throw it around and just chuck it anywhere they want, which, I mean, take whatever side you want. There's probably half soft, half hard cases for Ironman Florida. I think you've seen photos of Ironman World Champs in 2022. There's tons of different options for soft cases, hard cases. So I think both work. It's just the circumstances in which your bikes get shipped and how it's handled, and you really can't control that. So that's basically, I just wanted to do a little intro video. So with that, I'm going to segue into actually unpacking the bike in my garage to make sure it's all put together and all in one piece, nothing was broken, and it put back together without a problem. So enjoy those two little videos next. If you got any questions, put them in the comments. If you're seeing us on Facebook, if you're seeing it on YouTube, hit the like button if it helped you out. If you want to see something else, something I can describe for you a little bit more, just let me know. Put it in the comments. I get notifications. I'll see that for later. So hit like on YouTube, you're seeing it there. Hit the notification button, subscribe, all that kind of fun stuff, and you'll see future videos. So with that, enjoy the unpacking video.
Hey there, how's it going? I'm Ryan here, setthepacetriathlon.com. Also, the Plan Man, tons of training plans out there, but we're not here to talk about training plans. We're here to talk about traveling with your bike. So I just got back from Ironman Florida, and to force myself to get the bike out of the bag and not sit in the garage forever and make sure it's okay even after the flight, I'm going to do this quick little video. We're going to do it reverse a little bit. I'm going to take the bike out of the bag and tell you what I did in order to pack it and make sure it's secure for travel. But this is an Evoc Pro. Bought this for Florida, as Tri-Bike Transport is not coming in my area, so we need to get it done. So we're going to go from the inside out, or the outside in, whichever way you want to view it. And we're going to talk about what I did in order to get to where we are at with my bike in the garage in one piece, hopefully. So we will kind of switch it to the side here. As you can see, it's a soft case. I've read tons of reviews out there, and pretty much, I mean, it's kind of half and half between soft and hard cases. So did go with the soft case, but notice to start off with, I did have TSA approved bike or luggage locks. So what's nice, well, what's not nice is TSA didn't put it through the loops when they put the lock back on, which tells me that they got in there and checked it. This one too, they checked. TSA really on top of things here. So they have been in the bag, they've checked it. There are loops here in the zippers that you can loop the lock through if you're not paying attention. So I don't think you can see the combo as I go through here. I mean, I guess it serves the purpose for now. I couldn't get in here if I wanted to, but kind of doesn't serve the purpose later if I try to get in there. Again, so this side, you notice on both sides of the bag, the wheels are in the back here. So the first thing I want to check out is the wheel. And notice I did travel with my Orr cycling disc wheel. I put a just some packing material kind of on the outside because it does have disc brakes. I put it on the inside to cover the cassette just to make sure it doesn't push into anything. Just because, I mean, you know, it's in there and no telling what's going to happen to these things. So I'm just going to give it a once over just to make sure that no scratches, nicks, or anything on here that's like abundantly apparent that something has happened to this. I do like to check the disc brake there just to make sure. And notice I kept the end cap covers when the wheels were shipped to me. So I slipped this on the outside and I put the disc brake on the outside to put the cassette on the inside because I didn't want to get that mangled or anything. So I thought about taking the disc brake off and just traveling with that, but you're still going to have the spindle sitting out there, and it's going to take some major brunt too. So that's why I put the cap on and then put an extra protection of that. But on the case, let's see if I can show you the inside here real quick. And what's nice about the case is it's got a removable front wheel. I might do a review about the case later. So I'm going to put all my parts here in a little pile. But you can open this flap up all the way. It's got a nice little harder section of the case. It's got another hard section here because the bike frame is right behind there, so it's pushing on that bike frame. But I did add 2 extra layers of padding, and they work pretty good. You know, I don't see any punctures, which tells me it didn't get too mangled or too beat up or anything in the process. But you just never know what's going to happen. I gotta hope that the luggage handlers take it easy. But I mean, when it's in flight, anything can happen in the airplane. There's just no telling out there. But so that's this wheel. Notice this is a disc wheel, so I was a little bit nervous about flying with the disc wheel, but it came through, got there no problems, and came back with no problems. And notice I did flatten the wheel for the most part because you're gonna have pressure changes in the air, so I took a little bit of air out of the tires. But for the most part, the disc looks in pretty good shape. So I might put that back on when the weather changes here. We're in 30-degree weather here in Kansas City, so I'm not going to be riding outside anytime soon. It's nice. It's got handles all over the place. So this is my front wheel. And notice the cap that I used for that is beat up pretty good. I did put another protective layer there, so that's why I did that, because you never know. I mean, the disc looks in pretty good shape. You know, nothing too crazy, nothing's wobbly or anything. I did take the air out of it. So overall, it looks in pretty good shape. Again, I'll test these out later just to make sure there's nothing wrong, because you don't want to wait for too long. If you ever run into a problem with your bike, getting cleaned up in travel, to report it to the airlines or something like that. I'm probably a little bit outside the window anyway. It's been a day and a half since we got back, so I'm taking a little bit of time. So hopefully there is no other problems. Don't need that for the future. So this bike cap is trash. Put the trash there. Put this back in here. Notice I put all my stuff in there for later, because the last thing I'm going to be doing is scrambling around your house when you're traveling there looking for all your junk. So the piece de resistance, rescuing the bike out of the bag. And there should be some entertainment value once we open this and find out what we actually ship back with the bike, because wheels, bike frame, packing material was around 45, 47 pounds going out the floor. We put a few things back in there, and it was at 50 pounds exactly. So when you go over 50 pounds, you pay $100 extra with Delta anyway, and didn't want to do that, so we made it pretty good. So notice we bought some inflatable boats. It's nice packing material. Yes, we did bring back toilet paper because we're like, hey, we paid for it at the condo, and it's great packing material. So there you go. There's my wonderful notice. The TSA was through my bag. And we look at it, I did ship the bike helmet with it. So I locked it in there so it wouldn't fly around in the bag. I mean, it looks pretty good. It's not bent or anything like that. I'm not worried about it. Grins and giggles. Open it up. There you got a nice Pretty Project Wing 57 there, in good shape. So far so good. So you notice this bike bag is pretty nice. It's got straps that strap the rigid frame that you strap your bike or you put your bike on. This strap. This strap. Always a good sign when all the straps are still engaged. So there you go. Comes out, you'll notice this was the first trip. And it looks like it's taking a little bit more of a beating, but it did its job. It stopped whatever was hitting that from hitting the bike and messing up the crank arm. So fun stuff like that. But the bike, through axle, locks to the front, locks to the back of the frame. You can take this frame, sit it on a table, sit around next to it and build it up. But you notice that guy covered everything. This was loose. And I had Velcro straps. So I bought a roll of Velcro that's double-sided and then just cut it to lengths that I needed and basically covered everything. Anything that was exposed, like this interior frame, I mean, you probably won't get too much of that. It's going to hit this before it ever hits that, so I didn't worry too much about the inside there. But as you can see, overall, it looks like we don't have any major issues. I covered up the derailleur, took the chain off, bolted the chain to the padding just to make sure it wasn't dangling around in there. Looks like we don't have any issues with the front derailleur, but it's time for a tune-up after the race anyway, so we'll have it kind of checked over. But overall, nothing looks too flimsy, nothing looks dented, nothing looks like it got hit or mangled. So overall, I call that a traveling success. The one thing I did have to do, had to take the aero bars off the bar because this bag would not fit it. This front little piece that comes with the QR, PR62, there's a little nose piece and then a little front piece that goes on it. It was right up against the frame, so it was right in this piece and it wouldn't zip up with the aero bar still on the handlebar, so I had to take those off. So it was kind of a long lesson to learn how this fits in the bag, but it went pretty quick packing it in Florida and then getting it here. So checking out both sides, notice you know, these are pool noodles. I went and I chopped them up. I ordered some off Amazon and just cut them to fit pieces and parts. Anything that was exposed that might get hit from the outside. And basically, in the interior of the frame, anything on the handlebars that's touching the frame, anything that came back, these handlebars touching the frame, I double padded. Anything that's touching the frame, don't just think because you strapped it on there and it's secure that it's not going to rub on there, especially when you're flying for thousands of miles. If you've got layovers, you've got transfers, your bike is being handled multiple times. Don't take anything for granted. If you think it's going to get hit, you think it's going to get rubbed, you think it might be touched in any way, shape, or form, cover it up with a pool noodle and then strap it on with the Velcro straps. So this by itself, with the bike helmet and the wheels, like I said, it was about 47, 48 pounds. Add in some inflatable rafts that we bought that we didn't want to just leave in Florida, and add in some toilet paper, and we got to about 50 pounds. So the only, we'll put the bike back together, make sure everything works, but on the outside it looks like everything's pretty good to go. The only issue is, well, I got to Florida, the shifter cables had frayed inside the frame, which is not a fault of the shipping. It is a fault of not having it checked out and maintained properly to get those changed out before and doing a tune-up in time. Thought I could get by doing one more Ironman without a tune-up, but thank goodness I did have to ship it. Pulled the cables out, saw the fray, got that changed by Play Try there. Ironman Florida wasn't a problem, got the race done. But this is our only casualty. A bike hub cover. You can easily get those, it's not a problem. I'd rather that be the problem than having the wheels damaged or anything like that. I mean, overall, looks like all the spokes are in good shape. So this is it. This is kind of the inside out, like I said, kind of doing it reverse of packing it and getting it in there. EVOC frame was nice because I have a through axle, and you could do through axle, you can do regular skewer type axles. This is a tri bike, it'll probably fit with regular road bikes. This is a QRPR62, so if you have a frame that's along those lines, it looks like it should be a winner. I did order the Pro that comes with a frame inside, otherwise you have to order that separately or it doesn't come with one. Highly recommend you have a frame so you can strap in the bottom. Put some extra padding on the bottom because your front chainring is sitting a little bit low, so one hit to the bottom, it is pretty hard on the bottom, but one hit to the bottom, and you don't want a bent chain ring when you land to do your race, because those are pretty difficult to come by. Frayed cables you can fix. Bent chain ring might be a problem. So, seat post. Notice I have got saran wrap on it, and I have got rubber gloves to work on it, because as I found out, when you use the carbon fiber grit to put in the seat post to make sure it stays in there, even though it has a screw, it has a little bracket thing that holds it in, it can slide. So there is some nice handy dandy carbon fiber grit you put in there, but it causes splinters. There's nothing worse than carbon fiber splinters all over your hand. So I covered that with saran wrap because it did have some material on it. I didn't get on other stuff, and I had it in a insulated freezer bag. Put it with my regular luggage. I did not put it in the bike bag. I've got gloves to put that back on. And if you can see it here in the photo, see that little red doodad there in the brake? So if you got disc brakes, I've got little plastic calipers that I put in there. See it? It just slides right in. I've got it in the front and the back. See a little bit better in the back. See the red piece there? So what that does is, if you got hydraulic brakes, which I don't have, but I put it in there just to be safe, if you actually close the brakes, it latches it on, and you have to bleed the brakes in order to get it to unlatch and be able to put your wheels back on, all that kind of fun stuff. But I put them in there just in case, just so if when it's getting shipped, as you can see, I started putting it back together. But as it's shipped, if somebody accidentally squeezed the brake, handling it in the bag or something like that, it doesn't do anything to the brake pads, doesn't mess anything up. So I put spaces in there, and the other one was I saran wrapped the seat post to make sure there's no carbon fiber splinters, because that sucked. I had them all over my hand. It was not fun. Got over it, but learned my lesson. So saran wrapped the seat post, took the seat completely out, and then put in spacers in the disc brakes to make sure you don't have a problem when you get there. In a nutshell, that is kind of it. We'll wrap it up. You might see some post-production video and discussion, just talking about it in general. Might do a review of the EVOC bag later. Hit the like, hit the thumbs up, give a comment there and say, yeah, I want to review the bag and see everything about that. So we'll do that video too, if there's enough interest. So with that, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.